Alright, back to another album review. You knew that I was going to get to this one, and today's review is on Saint Anger by Metallica. This is the 8th studio album by Metallica, their first album without Jason Newsted, their last album released on Elektra Records, and their only album without an official bassist. January of 2001 was when Metallica rented an old army barracks in San Rafael, California, and converted it into a studio, which is now known as Metallica HQ. Jason Newsted left the band on January 17, 2001, due to personal issues. This meant they had to record the album without an official bassist. They did accept an offer from Bob Rock to play bass on the album. This means that if you were to listen to this album and you hear a bass guitar, then you hear Bob Rock. Recording for this album was originally going to begin on April 23, 2001, but was postponed because James Hetfield went to rehab for alcohol and substance abuse. The album was recorded between May of 2002 and April of 2003. It was self-produced with help from Bob Rock, who also recorded and mixed the album with help from Mike Gillies and Eric Helmkamp. Mike also engineered the album. This is the last time Bob would ever work with Metallica, and they thanked him for that, given the fact that he was never a permanent member of the band. He did perform with them during live shows until Robert Trujillo joined, but we'll get back to this later. Vlado Meller mastered the album at Sony Studios in New York. The album was released on June 5th, 2003 on Elektra Records. When making this album, Metallica decided to go in a different direction by venturing into alternative metal and even nu metal to an extent. It does contain some elements of groove metal and speed metal, though. They also decided to make this album with the raw production, but no guitar solos. Kirk Hammett commented on the lack of guitar solos, saying that it felt like an afterthought, that the band wanted guitar solos but kept running into a problem. He also said that the band wanted to preserve the sound of all four guys in the studio playing together. As for Lars Ulrich, he made the decision to record the drums without the snares on the snare drum. This makes it sound like it's made of tin. Well, he liked how this sounded, but the sound of the snare drum seems to be what most people complain about when criticizing this album. There's a shitload of memes related to the drums on this album. What's funny is that I once read a story on Loudwire that some guy on TikTok said that the drums from this album are his sleep paralysis demon. Now, the making of this album was documented in the 2004 documentary Some Kind of Monster, which showed what Metallica was going through at the time. Now let's talk about the songs. The intro to this album is Frantic, which was released as a single on September 15th, 2003. The very beginning of the song has the drums being the first thing that the listener hears. You can clearly hear that the drums sound like they're made of tin. There is a music video that was made, and I'm including a link in the description. Now the next song is Saint Anger, which was released as a single on June 23rd, 2003. The Japanese version of the single has 4 B-sides that are all Ramones covers: Commando, Today Your Love, Tomorrow the World, Now Want to Sniff Some Glue, and We're a Happy Family. Here's hoping that a compilation album with those B-sides and other rarities will get released someday. Of all the songs on this album, this is the one that has the most uses of the word fuck in the lyrics. The song ended up winning Best Metal Performance at the 2004 Grammys. There is a music video that was made, and it was filmed in San Quentin State Prison in California. The music video was nominated for Best Rock Video at the 2003 MTV VMAs, but lost to Somewhere I Belong by Linkin Park. Figures, since Somewhere I Belong is a much better song. I'm going to leave a link to the video for Saint Anger in the description. After that is Some Kind of Monster, which was released as a single on July 13th, 2004. The title of the song shares the same name as the documentary from 2004, which showed the kind of shit that the band was going through at the time, when they were making this album. There is a music video that was made, I'm including a link in the description. The director was credited as Alan Smithy. The reason why the director didn't want their actual name attached to the video is because they wanted to disown the project. Now, the video was nominated for Best Hard Rock Performance at the 2005 Grammys, but end up losing to Slither by Velvet Revolver. That's understandable because Slither is a better song. This is what I consider to be the best song on this album. Now, on a side note, the music video has better audio than the album version. Up next is Dirty Window. One thing I can say is that this is one of the heavier songs on the album. Next up is Invisible Kid. This is one of the songs that's more in the nu metal genre. That's followed up by My World. The song is notable for having the word motherfuckers being used twice. The phrase sons of bitches is only used once. Personally, I think this is one of the better songs on the album. Followed up with Shoot Me Again. For me, the best part about the song is the lyric, "Shoot me again, I ain't dead yet." The song also features the word shit in the lyrics. What comes next is Sweet Amber. This is more in the genre of alternative metal. What comes after that is The Unnamed Feeling, which was released as a single on January 14th, 2004. James Hetfield said this song is about anxiety. I can relate to this because I've been struggling with anxiety my whole life. Hell, there have been countless times where I nearly had a panic attack as a result of the anxiety. A music video was made and I'm including a link in the description. The song after that is Purify. The song takes a turn towards the direction of speed metal. The finale of this album is All Within My Hands. One interesting fact is that in 2017, Metallica started up a charity called the All Within My Hands Foundation. This is a non-profit organization that's dedicated to creating sustainable communities by supporting workforce education, the fight against hunger, and other critical local services, according to their website. The fact that Metallica decided to do this makes you respect them even more. One thing I need to mention is that the special edition of this album comes with a DVD containing the rehearsals for this album. And as you can see, my copy has that DVD. In order to promote this album, Metallica went on a tour for nearly 2 years with support from Deftones, Linkin Park, Mudvayne, Limp Bizkit, Slipknot, and Godsmack. This makes sense because each of those bands have at least touched upon nu metal, and Saint Anger ventures into this genre. After the recording of this album was completed, Robert Trujillo joined Metallica as their new permanent bassist. Robert previously played bass for Jerry Cantrell, Ozzy, and Suicidal Tendencies. He is still with Metallica to this very day and is their longest-serving bassist. In fact, this year will mark the 20th anniversary of when he joined the band, and the 20th anniversary of this album is going to be later this year. I don't know if Metallica will do anything to commemorate the album's 20th anniversary, but we'll have to wait and see. According to my research, this album peaked at number 1 on the Billboard 200, and has since sold over 6 million copies. When it comes to what the critics said, they ended up giving it mixed reviews, given the fact that it has a 65 on Metacritic. There were a handful of positive reviews. Spin gave this album an 8 out of 10. Rolling Stone gave it 4 out of 5 stars, and Entertainment Weekly gave it a B+. Pitchfork only gave it a 0.8 out of 10. Granted, Pitchfork sucks worse than Rolling Stone when it comes to reviewing music. If you don't believe me, just look at what those hipsters have said about Weezer's music. The band Psycho Stick poked fun at this album during some of their live streams. Somebody even asked them to do a spoof of Saint Anger, and Matty Resnick said, Saint Anger spoofs itself. I thought that joke was pretty funny. Now for my thoughts. Personally, I find this album to be mediocre. I don't hate this album, but it sure left a lot to be desired. Of course, I have said some positive things about the album while also cracking a few jokes at it. I would say that this is the most lackluster album in Metallica's discography. Maybe someday I'll compare this album with One More Light by Linkin Park to see which one is better. One of my friends think this is one of Metallica's better albums, and that's fine given the fact that this is their weakest album in my opinion. One guy on Twitter posted a photo of himself holding up a vinyl copy of this album and calling it garbage, and someone responded to him by saying that's still better than anything by Mariah Carey. I mean, the guy who responded does have a point about this album being better than anything by Mariah Carey. Last month I sold a copy of this album to a customer at my store, though I didn't say anything to her about it. Now, of all the albums in Metallica's discography, this is the one that has the most use of the word fuck. I mean, there is a parental advisory warning on the cover. Whether or not you want to check out this album is up to you. Now's the part where I question you. Have you listened to Saint Anger? If so, what do you think about it? What's your favorite song from it? How do you feel about Bob Rock filling in as the bassist during the recording sessions? Have you seen the documentary Some Kind of Monster? Do you think the criticism toward this album is justified? What do you think could have been done to improve this album? Let me know in the comments. If you liked the video, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Be sure to press the notification bell to notify you of future videos. Thanks for watching. I'll be back soon with another review.